We are coming up on the place name test, so I wanted to go over some of the cross currents in the Middle East now. Having a context or a background is real helpful. So the first thing to know is the difference between the Sunni and the Shiite divide. So here I am over in Morocco, here in North Africa, and I'm coming across to Algeria and Tunisia and Libya and Egypt and Saudi Arabian Peninsula and Jordan and Iraq and Syria and Turkey, and all of these folks are Sunni Muslims. The only Shiite Muslims in the area would be here in Iran and up in Azerbaijan. So in terms of world population of Muslims, it's about 75% for Sunni and 25% for Shiite. And I've seen other places that list the Shiite percent as closer to 17%. Lebanon is a little bit of an example here because they have the biggest Christian community in the Middle East. They also for sure have Sunni and Shiite neighborhoods, so it's a very mixture. All right, there's also an area called Kurdistan. So if we are in the northeast part of Syria, the northern part of Iraq, the northwestern part of Iran, and the southeastern part of Turkey, this whole area in here is loosely referred to as Kurdistan. So the Kurds are somewhat like the Palestinians in that they are an ethnic group and they want sovereignty over this land area right here and have yet to get it. So the Kurds speak their own language. They're not Arabs. The rest of Iraq would be Arabs. In Turkey, the Kurdish group is called the PKK, and Turkey and the PKK have had a civil war going on for about 20 years. I'll come back to that in a little bit, but in any event, the Kurdish minority in Turkey has felt discriminated against from a long time in the past. Down here in Syria, Damascus is in the southern part of the country. The guy's name is Assad, who is the ruler, the president, and his sect is called the Alawites, and they are a small Shiite sect. And so I know you've heard in the news about the ISIS and the ISIL. They're up here in the northern part of Syria, and they would be the adversary of Assad. So to the extent that we kill or degrade the ISIL people, that in essence helps Assad, who has been bombing his fellow Syrians up here in the northern part of the country near Aleppo. If we move over here to Iraq, what we see is that in the population, about 60% of them are Shiite Muslims and would generally be in the southern part of the country, particularly in Baghdad. About 20% of the population would be Sunni. This big expanse out here is called Anbar province, and so that's mostly a Sunni dominated. And then up here in the northern part of Iraq would be the Kurds, maybe 15 to 20% of the population. And the Kurdish people who do the actual fighting are called Peshmerga. They have been fighting the ISIL people and doing very well, but they've been pleading with the United States for us to give them direct military equipment. And we won't do that because the United States has a one Iraq policy, and the idea is they don't want the country to fracture into the three component parts I just mentioned. So they'll give the weapons to the Baghdad government, but Baghdad won't give it to the Kurds because of a dispute over some oil. I won't go into that. So the tables have been turned. When Saddam was in power, he was part of the Ba'ath Party, and that was a Sunni sect, and as such, they didn't play nice in the sandbox with the Shiites. And now that the tables have been turned, exactly the reverse has occurred. So now let's go up here to Turkey. You know from past studies that Turkey was the only and the first Muslim country to join NATO. And so they have a 500-mile border with Syria right here. And they also have a very strong military. And right now they have tanks on this border right where the fighting is going in Kobani. So back in the middle of the 15th of October 2014, the Turks ended up bombing the Kurds, the PKK Kurds that were over here in the southeastern part of their country. And then 2 weeks later, they're letting the Iraqi Kurds transit through their territory so that they can come and help the Syrian Kurds here fighting for the town of Kobani. So it's very peculiar and very mixed up. So now we come over to Egypt. Egypt is the most populated Arab country in the world. A few years back, there was a coup of their president, Mubarak. He had been in power for about the last 25 years. So they had an open and free election, and the Muslim Brotherhood, who most people would refer to as Shiite extremists, won the election, and a guy named Morsi became the president. And that lasted for about a year and a half, and they had 10 million people protest in the streets, and so the military, under the leadership of General Sisi, took over, had a coup, and put Mr. Morsi in jail, and a bunch of the Muslim Brotherhood, as many as he could find, has put in jail, and has restricted their personal freedoms. And now General Sisi has run for election and won by an overwhelming majority. So there's some stability in the country, but tourism has fallen to just fallen substantially. Then if we go to the east a little bit in the area, we see Israel and the Palestinian situation. They just finished a war in the Gaza Strip. Just a few days ago, Israel mentioned that they were going to build more settlements in Jerusalem. Again, what the Palestinians call the Israelis is occupiers. They feel like they're not negotiating in good faith. So lastly, we come over here to Iran, and so Iran is the most populated Shiite country in the area, in the world, and they cause a lot of mischief. So what they do is they subsidize Assad over here, his Alawite sect in Syria. They also subsidize Hamas. They were the group that Israel had the war with down here in the southern part of the country. And they also subsidize the Hezbollah group in Lebanon. And so they create lots of mischief. And there is a major political vying for power between Saudi Arabia, the primary the home of Muhammad and the guarantor of the faith, the place where Mecca is, and so there's a vying of power between this Sunni country and Iran being the Shiite country. We know that Saudi Arabia is the biggest oil producer in the area, and they hold a pilgrimage to Mecca once a year. Then we look in the Gulf states, and the country here is, it looks like you would pronounce it Qatar. A lot of people call it Qatar. Either one is okay. Qatar is playing both sides of the fence. We have a big military base there, but they also give a lot of money to the terrorists. So you look at the Middle East, and as I said earlier, it's nice to have a context, and it's nice to have a background, and that's all true. But how you make sense of all of this in the present time, I have no idea, and I don't think the pundits do either. There are a lot of cross currents, and it's just a very strange place. I hope this makes some sense, and I hope it will help you study for your Middle East quiz that's coming up. Thanks. Bye.